The quiet panic in Keir Starmer's premiership is evident, not simply in his ignoring Lord Glassman's endorsing of reform, uh, not a foreign summit, not a triumphant policy launch, but the quiet panic playing out inside the Parliamentary Labour Party. Starmer is trying to head off a mutiny, and the question is whether this is political tact, strategic recalibration, or sheer desperation. So, a rebellion is brewing in Labour. More than 100 Labour MPs, possibly up to 170, are prepared to abstain or vote against the government's own welfare reforms, specifically the £5 billion in disability cuts announced by Rachel Reeves. It's a revolt not of opposition parties, but of Starmer's own MPs, ministerial aides included. And at the centre of the discontent is the now infamous two-child benefit cap, a measure so regressive that even the Department for Work and Pensions concedes it will plunge 250,000 more people into relative poverty, including 50,000 children. Faced with this, Downing Street has embarked on a last-minute charm offensive, or rather damage control, and plans are being floated to soften the impact, possibly by tweaking universal credit, expanding free school meals, or even inching towards a three-child limit. But let's not pretend this was the plan all along. This is crisis management dressed up as compassion. If this feels incoherent, that's because it is. Starmer's politics right now resemble an optical illusion. The closer you look, the more the lines blur. On immigration, he declared Britain had become a one-nation experiment in open borders, a line so pungent it could have been lifted from a Nigel Farage stump speech. But in the same breath, his government is pushing a youth mobility scheme with the EU potentially allowing thousands of young Europeans to work in Britain for up to 3 years. Hooray. It's hard not to see this as a contradiction. Worse, it risks being seen as hypocrisy. The Red Wall is already being told the borders are under control, while the south of England is reassured that the creative and care sectors will remain open to European talent. In trying to appease both, Starmer satisfies neither. The pattern repeats itself on fuel payments, on child poverty, even on Brexit. Labour promises to uphold the referendum result while edging towards Brussels under the banner of reset. What is being reset, however, remains dangerously vague, and that, in politics, is a problem. Deliberate vagueness is dangerous in and of itself. The risk, of course, is not simply bad optics, but alienation of the very coalition Starmer built to win power. A new poll suggests that over half of Labour's 2024 voters are considering defecting, not to Reform, but to the Lib Dems or the Greens, and that's a danger Starmer cannot ignore. The centre-left flank of his party is increasingly disillusioned, holding their noses while they vote, if at all. And the idea that these voters will simply come home at the next election is lazy. Politics is not a game of inevitabilities. Labour MPs know it. They are not revolting simply out of moral indignation, though that is certainly a factor, but from a cold recognition that the electoral coalition assembled in 2024 is far more fragile than it looked. The irony is brutal. A party with a massive parliamentary majority is discovering that its mandate is already fraying. So where does this leave the Prime Minister? Is this a late state correction or the symptom of deeper confusion? In recent weeks, Starmer has appeared more reactive than visionary. For a man who promised stability, there is now a palpable sense of drift and desperation from Brussels, from disability cut to border rhetoric. We're watching a Prime Minister retreat not towards the centre ground, but into a no man's land of tactical ambiguity. If Starmer wants to regain control, he must choose a path, and soon. Half measures will not hold. Either he recommits to the moral compass of his party's traditions, or he continues to triangulate until the triangle collapses under the weight of its own contradictions. To quote a cabinet minister, child poverty unites the Labour Party like nothing else, and that unity is a rare thing. It would be political malpractice not to use it. So Keir Starmer now faces the kind of choice that defines a premiership. Will he lead with conviction or manage with caution? Because one thing is certain: the time for avoiding hard decisions is long over.